If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Austin Vanderford joining us. He returns to action August 24th, and he will take on Doug Usher at Bellator 225 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. How are you, Austin?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. There seems to be something with you in Connecticut here. I mean, 2 Bellator fights, both in Connecticut. How excited are you to be heading back to New England after just a fantastic result back in February?
I'm excited. I love the East Coast, and I love going over there. So, yeah, of course, I have a good taste in my mouth from my last fight in Connecticut. So, I look to replicate the same thing.
That fight in February was your Bellator debut. You finished it in the first round via arm triangle. Did you feel right at home in the Bellator cage?
I did, man. I love the Bellator, everything about Bellator and just the buzz and the feeling you get making that walk, and it's very unique. I've fought and I've been to a lot of different promotions and whatnot, and in my mind, Bellator is above any other. Just the uniqueness and having your video playing on the big screen and all that. It's very cool, and it's a very fun feeling.
You get Doug Usher next, a guy who has been on a really nice run as of late. 6 wins in a row, 5 finishes, a big striker from Atlanta, Georgia. Were you familiar with Doug at all when the name was presented to you?
I wasn't, no, but my managers and my coaches had brought the name and we did we saw some film or whatever after the fact, and we felt like this was a great fight and an exciting and fun fight for sure.
Fight's coming up in a little less than 2 weeks. What have you and your team been working on to kind of thwart his strengths and exploit his weaknesses, and who are some of the teammates you've been working with specifically to help you get ready for this fight?
Man, I've got a few in there who, the funny thing is, so Doug's the southpaw, and I think I train with like 90% southpaws, so so it actually works out really well, actually. And so I've got a lot of guys who really replicate his style, are good strikers and whatnot, and so I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a fun fight. Like right off the bat, I'll do some with I'll watch some film with some coaches so we kind of have a sense, and then I let them really like dig in deep and get the full, every little detail and whatnot. But I like to go over it a little bit just so I have an idea in my mind and stuff. But like I said, that's usually right off the bat, and then from there on I don't really pay attention at all and just focus on what I'm doing.
So this fight's going to be in the middleweight division. Your first fight with Bellator was at 175 pounds. It was a catchweight bout. And I know you fought at welterweight many times in the past. Can you comfortably say that middleweight is going to be your new home, or are you comfortable kind of bouncing up and down between 170 and 185?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the weight class you see me at going forward. We're going to try this one out for sure, but I felt like the weight cut and all that was just getting to be a little too much, and I'm kind of looking at the longevity and I want to fight for a long time, and there was going to be a day, whether it was sooner than later, that I just wasn't going to be able to make 170 anymore, and I would never want to get to the point where I either one, did some sort of permanent damage to myself, but two, I'd never want to get to the point where I didn't make weight. I feel like that's a tough thing, not to make weight and whatnot. And so I didn't ever want that to be the chance. So, I felt like 185 was a good move, and my coaches and managers and most importantly, my wife agreed. So, we made a move.
Now, obviously, we don't want to look too far ahead. You have a very tough opponent in Doug Usher coming up in a little less than 2 weeks in Bridgeport, Connecticut. But with Bellator, we've seen all this the Grand Prix stuff. We had the heavyweights. We're in the middle of the welterweight Grand Prix. That's about to wrap up shortly. The featherweight Grand Prix is going to kick off. We haven't seen one in the middleweight division. Is that something that intrigues you a little bit now, being a member of the Bellator middleweight division?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, though, never to overlook any opponent and overlook the 24th. But yeah, I mean, that's another part that is exciting to me as well, is, the potential of being involved in a Grand Prix and all that. So I think that's one of the most unique and fun things that MMA has going on right now, is the Bellator Grand Prix, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, why don't more promotions do this? Because it really is such a fun thing. But yeah, if that opportunity presented itself, you better believe I'd jump all over it.
How do you see this all playing out in less than 2 weeks? Bellator 225 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. You versus Doug Usher. How do you see this thing going down?
Yeah, I've got a very tough, respectable opponent who brings a certain skill set. But I also am very confident in my skill set as well. And I think that if I stick to my game plan and stick to what I'm best at, everything will take care of itself, and I'll have a good result.
So I am glad you're here for another reason, because I do have a little bone to pick with you, by the way, Austin. So I was out covering Bellator 215, your Bellator debut at Mohegan Sun back in February, and we were hungry. A couple of other members of the media and myself, we were pretty hungry, and we're walking around Mohegan Sun looking to find a place to eat. We walk into this restaurant, and we go and sit down, and we didn't see a hostess. We didn't see a lot of people at the tables, and one of the employees there just starts yelling at us, like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here? Like, what's going on here? These tables are reserved. These tables are reserved. And she made me feel like I was like 2 feet tall. And I asked what the problem was, and didn't see anybody sit at the tables. She said that all of the tables were reserved. So there's nowhere for us lowly media members to sit. And I was told that all the tables, pretty much the entire restaurant, was booked for you and your team and everybody you're with. How many people did you have with you at Mohegan Sun that night?
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where you're talking. We had a big group. I think, because our managers have Mitrione as well, and I think maybe another, and Tyrell Fortune, and so there was a big group. I think they were trying to get us all together and all that, but gosh dang it, man, I'm so sorry. You stand this to the nicest guy, man. I feel so bad, but no, yeah, we had a big group that night for sure.
That's all good. I'm just playing around with you, but and I wanted to bring this up, and I'm sure you've been asked about this in every single interview you've done over the last year, 2 years or so, but I can relate to this. I come from a similar perspective as you, just because, I have a spouse that supports me in accomplishing what I want to accomplish. And I remember in the post-fight scrum back in February after Bellator 215, after your big win, you talked about how much of a rock, how influential your wife, Paige VanZant, has been in your career and throughout this run. And I could tell that means the world to you. And as a married man myself, I get it 100%, because when you have that support from your spouse, that just makes you want to push even harder, right? So when people call you Mr. VanZant and things like that, I'm guessing that's a term that you take with a huge sense of pride, considering how much you guys support each other. Is that accurate?
Oh, 100%, for sure. And, that gets thrown out as, I guess you'd say, a diss or whatever, but, I'm proud to be associated to my wife, and, and I'm happy to go out and prove to anyone who thinks that, I am what I am, or I am where I am, only because of my wife. I'm very happy to prove them otherwise. So, she's such a big support system for me, and she'll once again be cornering me as well for my fight coming up here. And especially with her time off right now with her injury, she's really been able to focus all her attention on me, and I'm very fortunate. I get to come home every night and hear everything I'm doing wrong, and in sparring, and the mistakes that I've made and things that I can fix, and for me, I appreciate that, because there's so much in this world. There's so many yes people, and we don't get enough constructive criticism sometimes, and so she does it all out of love, and just wanting me to be the best that I can possibly be. So, I'm so fortunate to have that, and just to have someone who believes in me as much as she does, and it's definitely a special situation.
Austin Vanderford, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman himself, back in the Bellator cage, August 24th in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Bellator 225. Catch all the action on DAZN and on the Paramount Network. Austin, thank you for the time. All the best in the fight against Doug Usher, and let me know after the fight where you guys are going to eat so I can avoid that place altogether.
Definitely, for sure.